Light is the hope to all who seek. Light is the way when moments are bleak. So look up to the skies. The light is Jesus Christ, and all who seek will find. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Na 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 na.
Dear sisters and brothers, after his resurrection and before his ascension, Jesus commissions the 11, saying, "Go into the whole world and proclaim the good news to every creature." Mark 16:15. This clear mandate created a strong commitment and a great motivation in the life of the apostles to be the heralds of the gospel in the world. Jesus states loudly, "You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world." This message of Jesus gives a clarion call to every Christian to make their life a gift to others, so that the lives of the others are enlightened, enriched, and transformed. With ardent faithfulness to their Master's call, many dedicated disciples in the history of the Church zealously worked in different ways to live and to preach His teachings to all people of goodwill. One of the powerful means to fulfill the message of Jesus was by making education one of the main platforms of heralding the gospel. The Second Vatican Council, in the Declaration on Christian Education, Gravissimum Educationis, says that to fulfill the mandate she has received from a divine founder of proclaiming the mystery of salvation to all men and restoring all things in Christ, Holy Mother the Church must be concerned with the whole of man's life, even the secular part of it, insofar as it has a bearing on his heavenly calling. Therefore, she has a role in the progress and development of education. The Catholic Church in Goa, too, has recognized the potent value of education in the proclamation of the gospel and the transformation of the society. Hence, I've entitled this session as Catholic Education, a Priority of the Church in Goa. I have divided this reflection into 4 parts. First, a historical overview of the education in our archdiocese. Second, the present status of education apostolate. Third, challenging trends at our doorstep. And lastly, proactive approach to the challenges. First, the historical overview. Educational system by the Church in Goa had simple and humble beginnings during the Portuguese era. The introduction of Kantra School in some parishes was a means of imparting education as well as evangelization. It is claimed that the Kantra School had their origin with Saint Francis Xavier around 1545 AD in order to teach catechism, reading, writing, and singing. The main purpose of this school was to train the young students to sing at the church liturgical services. Compulsorily primary education began in the Goan villages around 1841. when Kantra School were turned into parochial schools. Higher education was imparted at College of St. Paul at Old Goa, Seminary of Santa Fe, Old Goa also, Seminary of Shurao and Seminary of Rashol. The schools under the aegis of the Archbishop Patriarch were brought under the common umbrella in 1952, which was called Secretariado da Doutrina Cristã, in order to integrate the teaching of Catholic doctrine with the formal education in English. Father Antonio Ataíde Lobo was the secretary of this Secretariado. In 1962, the then Vicar General of the Archdiocese, Monsignor Francisco Xavier da Piedade Rebelo, created the Sociedade de Instrução da Arquidiocese de Goa e Damão, Diocesan Society of Instruction, which was established and registered with the Conservatória dos Registros das Comarcas das Ilhas de Goa. The Society's Registration Act of 1860 being made applicable to Goa, the Society was re-registered with the Office of the Registrar of Societies on May 13, 1974. As Sociedade de Instrução da Arquidiocese de Goa e Damão, henceforth known as Diocesan Society of Education in English. Diocesan Society of Education is founded by the Roman Catholic Church in Goa under the powers conferred by the Constitution of India under Article 31 and the canon law of the Church to promote, safeguard and organize systematically the education of youth, both Christian and non-Christian, at all levels. Its aim was to make the youngsters enlightened, loyal and useful citizens of our motherland, as well as procure for its Catholic students formation and education based on the principles of Catholic doctrine under the control of the competent ecclesiastical authority through the means of religious instruction, liturgical activities, etc. What is the current status of the educational apostolate? The Archdiocese of Goa and Daman is involved in a colossal educational activity, having schools from pre-primary, primary, secondary, higher secondary and at college levels. These includes also special schools. In order that the education system in the Church in Goa has a common goal, there are two main bodies which function directly under aegis of the Archbishop of Goa and Daman. They are Archdiocesan Board of Education, ABE. Every Catholic education institution functioning in the Archdiocese of Goa and Daman is part of the ABE, that is, the Diocesan Educational Institutions and educational institutions managed by the religious societies. All follow a common educational policy so that while imparting education, the Catholic educational institutions also impart gospel and church values. There are around 170 Catholic educational institutions under the ABE. Diocesan Society of Education, DSE. The Catholic educational institutions are administered and managed by DSE. And the educational institutions managed by the religious societies have their own administration. It's very important and pertinent to note that the majority of our educational institutions are in the villages spread all over Goa. with the goal of offering qualitative education to all, irrespective of their religious affiliations or cultural diversities. This is because the vision of Christian education derives from the intrinsic nature of Christian ethics, based upon a definite understanding of the value and identity of every human person. In his encyclical letter on Christian education of the youth by Pope Pius XI, he says, "It must never be forgotten that the subject of Christian education is man, whole and entire, soul united with all its faculties, natural and supernatural, such as right reason and revelation, show him to be." The pioneering work of education in Goa and much earlier in our country by the Catholic Church manifested a definite vision and mission. It envisages that holistic education should not be a privilege of a particular class or a selected few, but a sacred right of every citizen or every human person. Hence, in a quest to make education a universal and uniform right of every child, the Church has laid special focus on those at the margins of the society, who usually tend to be deprived of this basic noble need. An eminent Hindu educationist says, Christian schools have been able to inject a large number of non-Christians with a sense of dedication and commitment in general, as well as to education that has been a major contribution. Commitment to education that comes from commitment to scholarship is a noble thing. But he says, when it comes from a stronger motive, like service to society or religion or God, I think, he says, the commitment is raised to an entirely different level altogether. Such a commitment is what you have been able to achieve and to communicate it to others. This is an eulogy of Christian schools by a non-Christian. To complement what the non-Christian has stated, education should aim at the enrichment of human personality, the training in fundamental values. It contributes towards fostering ethical values in individual consciences, which are vital in building a civilized society and an enlightened nation. Challenging trends at our doorsteps. After more than 50 years of the gigantic educational work in this Goan scenario, it appears that a dangerous trend is slowly emerging, rupturing the pure philosophy and impeding the vision and mission of the Church. There is a mushrooming of commercialization and competition that seems to be infecting the very trust of education. In the name of providing service, some managements appear to have set apart education only for the affluent and the rich. The middle class and the poor are being placed in a difficult dilemma of either facing unbearable economic burden on their meager resources or being deprived of this highly priced education institution. How would the deserving and gifted students of such classes who long to achieve better standards of life afford to join such institutions? Is it not implicit unfairness and injustice created by humans to humanity? We have to admit that this is no doubt a very complex issue which is required to be addressed not only by the church and all the managements involved in education, but also by the government, who is a major stakeholder in the mission of education. Unless this issue is addressed in a collaborative manner on an urgent basis, the gulf which is already prevailing between the affluent class and the common citizens will be widened, leading to the fostering of inequality and festering of animosity in the society. In a secular country like India, the Catholic Church has the challenge of maintaining its identity. According to the document, the Catholic School of the Congregation of Catholic Education, the Catholic school forms part of the saving mission of the Church. It invites Catholic schools to build a culture animated by faith. The document Educating to Intercultural Dialogue in Catholic Schools, Living in Harmony for a Civilization of Love of 2013 states that Catholic schools as institutions of evangelization and inculturation should be places where intercultural dialogue takes place. However, while respecting the law of the land, the Catholic school should never dilute the Catholicness message of the school, which is based on the gospel values and which is imparted through moral or value education. Proactive approach to these challenges. Funds for education need to be given top priority by all the stakeholders, and they need to be disbursed, keeping in mind the principles of justice, equality, and common well-being. In this regard, there is a pressing need to keep a check on certain private managements which are involved in providing educational benefits only to the high-ranking students, and that too those affording to pay exorbitant capitation fees. If those concerned turn a blind eye to glaring unjust culture, it will not only promote inequality, but it would undermine the very aims and value of education. Most of our educational institutions today are blessed with fora which are involved in providing holistic education to our students by promoting a conducive ambience of integral learning and formation. It is essential to involve more and more the parents-teachers associations, the ex-students associations, to collaborate with the school managements in the creation of funds, mainly to reach out to a percentage of students who are deserving but are deprived of quality education because of the deficiency of economic resources. This will go a long way in providing level ground or equal opportunities to all deserving students. Another step that school managements need to take is to develop a greater and far-sighted vision of education in Goa. In view of my services for about 13 years in the DSC, many a time while presiding at some functions, I was introduced as an educationist. I used to have a hearty laugh, responding humbly by saying that I was not an educationist, but that I was an administrator, maybe with the heart of an educationist. In my view and conviction, I hold that a true educationist needs to be a real philosopher and a visionary of education. I dream of a time when Goan youth are encouraged to see themselves beyond Goa and look at the larger picture of India as a great nation. I mean that there are services that we can need to extend to our country, to the very valuable Indian administrative services. At present, very few Goans seem to be motivated to qualify themselves to assume positions in these higher cadres. Those involved in the apostolate of education need to give necessary vision and create a productive infrastructure to encourage and inspire our students to undertake such challenging responsibilities. In order to realize the above vision, we need to induct in our educational management as advisors highly qualified and skilled retired lay people. Their expertise and vast resourceful experience will immensely contribute to make our mission of evangelization through education more effective, enduring, and exemplary. Nelson Mandela said, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." The Catholic Church has made great investments of talent, time, resources, and treasury in the field of education, making it a salt, the light, and the leaven in the world. However, there's a vast scope for expanding the quality and productivity of education by reviewing, restructuring, and renewing the existing educational apostolate in our archdiocese. This will go a long way in making this priority of the Church in Goa an inspiring witness of the gospel in our state, in our nation. As I conclude my reflections on education, I wish to quote Daniel Webster. "If we work on marble, it will perish. If we work upon brass, time will efface it. If you rear temples, they will crumble into dust. But if you work on immortal souls, if you imbue them with principles, with fear of the Creator and love of fellow men, we engrave on these tablets something which will brighten all eternity." This quote is a glowing tribute to all the noble souls who have toiled hard down the centuries in the world and particularly in our archdiocese. It is a vision of education that we have received and inspired by the Gospels and by Jesus Himself. May God bless us all.